All right, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. It's 6 o'clock, so we will go ahead and now call the meeting to order. Our clerk is away tonight, the training, if I'm not sorely mistaken, correct?
Yes.
So Laura's going to handle our roll call for us, please.
Okay. Mayor Holland.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Taylor.
Here.
Commissioner Brownlow.
Here.
Commissioner Sanderson.
Here.
Commissioner Sawyer. And Commissioner Wooten.
Here. Mr. Sawyer isn't here, so we'll
Make a motion that we excuse Commissioner Sawyer.
all right, the motion is on the floor by Commissioner Sanderson to excuse Josh Sawyer from tonight's meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion's carried. Thank you. Please bow your head with me in prayer. Dear Lord, thank you for the many blessings we have received today and for the promise of many blessings tomorrow. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Please stand with me and face our flag for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, item number 5 will be public comment. Excuse me, as always, there's a sign-up sheet on the table by the door. If you signed up, they'll call your name in the order that you signed up. If you didn't know there was a sheet or you missed it and you have something to say, we'll get to you at the end of that. I'll ask that we try to keep our comments to 3 minutes, be respectful of the speakers behind you. And that being said, we'll go forward.
Robert Lopes.
Please. It takes a second. And then, Mr. Lopes, not to cut into your time, not going to cut into your time. When you're done speaking, if you'll just lay that mic down, that way we don't have
I
to.
can't hear you anyway. Can't see him, I can't hear you.
Yes, sir. Understood.
I know Matt's not here tonight, but I just wanted to say a few words for Matt. I want to thank Matt for being our town manager. In my opinion, he was one of the smartest, intelligent, and most innovative town manager we've had in quite a while. I was very friendly with the last town manager, but I like Matt very well. To read my big notes because I have AMD, so I have to look hard. Sorry.
Yes, sir.
We've had, yeah, I gotta go. I'm sorry you had to endure the harassment, the name calling, and the personal attacks. The town of Emerald Isle will be the loser and Beaufort will be the winner. We will miss the talent you've had shared. Apparently, there are those who fear that talent and intelligence. And I want to thank you again. We wish you well in all your endeavors. And I know you're not here, Matt, but thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Harry King.
Good evening, everybody. Sherry King, Live Oak Street, right here around the corner. I wasn't able to make last month's meeting and I watched it. I had to come say something about it. Mr. Thomas and Sarah, they seem so frustrated and you all put in hard work. Everyone does. But it just seemed like our town is at each other's throats, whether it's the residents or it's the administration or the volunteer people like you guys are. So one person, the rule went one way, and for another person, the rule went another way. And it was kind of upsetting because, I'm in hospitality here, and I tell everyone how kind and how nice we are. And it was on public TV, and it just looked tough. So I want us to dig deep down, and I want us to look at how we're treating people. Whether it's me, let's just say me. Say we buy drones for $60,000, which I hear is in the works. And they fly that over my house, and they take a picture of my grandson, who my daughter forbids to be on TV or anywhere because she is in fear of, whatever. I don't know. Drives me crazy. Can't take pictures at play group or anything. Are we stepping over people's rights? Are we stepping into the wrong places? Let's be courteous of our residents and be courteous of all of you, all of our government people, and work together. Because when I watched that, it looked horrible to the public. And that's not what we're about. So that was the one thing I want to talk about. And I don't see us buying drones. I think that's a waste of money. One would be okay, but not three. And if we do that, our payroll might get to go down because forward thinking, the industry is moving towards electronic, everything electronic, everything. So if you do that, let's talk about our 66% payroll and how we can clip that a little bit. I run businesses, and I'd be fired if my payroll was 66%. So, but the other thing I want to talk to you about, our median age is 63. We need a senior center. The seniors use our rec center, and then they got to leave because there's a aerobics class or something, and there's one little room for them. I think we need to do a little bit more for our seniors. And then I think we got to do more to attract families. So if families are starting to build homes here, let's work with them. Not keep them out of the house or make it hard on them. Let's try to have a little bit more diversity. But I think we're going to have to look forward to these seniors that are asking me if I could speak on their behalf, because they don't get up here and speak. They're over 65. They want a senior center. So I want you to start thinking, forward thinking, like other towns have, commissioners, mayors, anyone. I know we've got law books being changed because of what's going on with trees and all kinds of things. But I just wanted to say that last week looked weird on video. When you watched it and you were from here, it really felt like we're very separated as a town, and kindness does matter. And it really didn't look that well last week. So I just wanted, from a perspective, I watched it at my daughter's house with her husband. He's like, is that really Emerald Isle? I said, yeah, it really is. So let's try to get together on that, but let's forward think. And if we're going to buy drones, we're going to do things like that, let's make sure we're not overdoing things, if you could.
Thank you,
Okay.
ma'am.
I want you're making these decisions, people. Every one of you are making these decisions. But seriously, the older people in town need to be taken care of. All right. And that's all I really have to say.
Thank you.
Valerie Perry.
Hello, I'm Valerie Perry. I live at 8804 Edgewater Court. I want to thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak to you. There are a few things that I would like to address, starting with outside courts. The cracks appeared just 4 weeks after installation and have worsened since. This is a significant concern for the future usability of the courts. The application that has been developed is operational, but it does fail to address a few issues: enforcement of court fees and court usage. Non-members or non-payers are showing up and using the courts without any accountability, and paying members are having to enforce this, which is leading to some unpleasant confrontations. The lights outside, they're intermittently turning on and off and creating a frustrating experience. Then I want to go back to establishing a volunteer Parks and Rec committee. This would support the Parks and Rec staff, not replace them. The role would include assisting with various activities, providing ideas for fundraisings for charities, bringing safety concerns to light, and gathering input from the citizens of EI. And then let's talk about the inside courts. The floor installed in the gym does not appear to be suitable for pickleball. Balls do not bounce consistently, and in some areas, a basketball will not even bounce higher than 6 inches. There seems to be a lack of consistency in enforcing the rules for indoor sports. Basketball continues during pickleball hours, while pickleball players are told they cannot use the courts when basketball is in session. More dedicated time needs to be scheduled for indoor pickleball play to accommodate the growing demand. Some staff members inside have been rude or unhelpful, especially when simple requests are made, such as providing a clipboard for signups during open play to ensure fairness and rotation. This lack of support diminishes the overall experience for the community. We even made a notebook and just said, hey, could you leave it somewhere so people coming into play could use it? They said no. And then there's the board dynamics, as the other person spoke. There is a growing perception of animosity, friction, and even hostility among the board members, which come across as negativity, which I am sure can impact the functioning of this board in its relationship with the citizens. The public image of this board has been tarnished by statements that suggest a disconnect from the community and the implications that some, or in general, the people of Emerald Isle are not very intelligent. One comment specifically hit home for me was people just do not understand the complexity of running a Parks and Rec Center. While I, along as many other residents, believe that the citizens of Emerald Isle are intelligent, resourceful, and capable of making meaningful contributions to the support of and improvements of the Parks and Rec facilities. If I can manage 21 project managers responsible for complex clinical trials that randomize patients and dose patients, I think I could effectively manage a budget, schedule activities, and ensure the equitable use of recreational spaces. So my final recommendations would be address the issues with courts, both indoor and outdoor, improve the lighting, formalize the Parks and Rec Committee to help support staff and offer community-driven solutions, foster a more transparent, approachable environment among staff and board members to improve communication and community relations. The issue raised here reflect an opportunity for the board to enhance the functionality of our Parks and Rec facilities. By addressing these concerns, we can build a more positive and collaborative work environment for everyone in EI. Let's together to ensure the facilities that we have serve the community's needs and continue to be a source of pride for all. Let's stand behind the motto that's published on the EI website, pride in working together.
Thank you, ma'am.
Sarah Fullwood.
Good evening. I'm Sarah Fullwood, 126 Ethel Drive. In the mayor's posted letter regarding the town manager's resignation, he indicated that after tonight's meeting, the board will go into closed session in order to discuss next steps on the hiring process for a new town manager. Why is the discussion on the process conducted in a closed session? I know that personnel issues that involve names, conduct, etc., are done in closed session. But it seems like there should be a pretty standardized process for the identification and selection of a new town manager, and that discussion of the process should be public and transparent. So my question to you is, and it may be a very simple answer, if the procedural discussion is in closed session, is that because you're already discussing specific individual names, or is there another reason? And could you possibly answer this question tonight, since you sometimes do that in this forum when it's a simple question? Number two, could you please establish a standardized methodology for advertising and filling board and committee vacancies? I think you're trying to accomplish this with the new application that is now required for the golf cart and bike and pedestrian committees, but how the information is disseminated is still a bit random. For example, you only posted the committee vacancies for the golf cart committee and the bike and pedestrian committee once to the town Facebook page. But you posted about the EI Valentine's Day event and the pickleball tournament at least 5 times during the open application period. It seems like making sure members of the community know about these opportunities to serve should be just as important, if not more so, than hearing about the gourmet buffet dinner in the gym. Number 3, the town website currently says 3 of the Planning and Adjustment Board members finished their appointment in March 2024, which was last year, and 4 members will finish their current appointment in March of 2025, which is next month. I was unable to find the bylaws for that board on the website, but I'm assuming the bylaws must say that board members can simply choose to stay on the board without the town opening the spot or the vacancy to the community for new applications, as is the case for the golf cart committee in its bylaws. The minutes indicate that several members of the planning board have been serving for more than a decade. If this is the case, would you consider amending the bylaws and opening seats at the end of each term to the broader community to create the opportunity for others to serve and avoiding the perception of favoritism? People can't complain about the same old people being on the board when you've opened up opportunities for them to serve and no one chooses to put their name in the hat. And one last quick question. Is it possible to reword the building or zoning permit question on flying drones over a property to make that specific to only flying drones over the property for the purposes of conducting surveys for that specific permit? Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Excuse me. Ms. Fuld, I'll answer hopefully at least a couple of your questions because I know not everybody's here for final comments and so forth. I believe the first one was in regard to closed session to discuss next steps. Yes, I was quoted in the newspaper saying that without discussing personnel in depth, that would be procedurally illegal for me. Doesn't take a rocket science to figure out we have received Mr. Zapp's resignation. Per his contract, there are things to be discussed as far as his exit is concerned. Technically, he's still an employee of the town of Emerald Isle. By law and by rules of procedure, that is not to be discussed in public and open session. That's the reason for the closed session. Bylaws, as far as appointments, I'm not adequately versed because I know they're different between one committee to the other. But I'll make a request out in the open to staff right now to make the bylaws, selection process, appointment process available on our town website and emailed directly to you. Hope that helps. Thank you.
That's all the sign up.
All right. That was all that signed up on the sheet. Is there anyone else that would like to take advantage of public comment period before we move on to the next item on the agenda? Thank you. Item number 6 is we heard you, excuse me, follow up to prior public comments. We've made a lot of efforts to follow up on the public comments from prior meetings. There should be a printed copy on the table as you entered and will exit. If you don't have one or you don't get one, let me know and I'll make sure you get one right away. All right, item number 7 would be the adoption of the agenda. I will say based on legal determination, adoption of agenda would also include the adoption of the consent agenda, which includes items 9, A, B, and C. I'll ask for a motion to adopt the agenda.
I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda.
All right, Commissioner Wooten has a motion to adopt the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
That motion is carried. Thank you. All right, item number 8, proclamations and public announcements. Public announcements up first. Mr. Cruz, when you're ready, sir.
On February 17th, the next Board of Adjustment meeting will be held from 6 to 7 p.m. The next Police Educating the Public takes place on February 18th in the town boardroom from 10 to 11 a.m. On February 18th, the town of Emerald Isle will hold its hospitality and food and beverage meetings at the Islander Hotel. More information on the town's website. The next Golf Cart Advisory Committee meeting is on February 18th from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. On February 19th, the Bike and Pedestrian Advisory Committee meeting will take place in the Emerald Isle Community Center from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. The Stormwater Committee meeting will take place in the town boardroom from 3 to 5 p.m. The Emerald Isle Police Department will do a free car seat safety check at Trans Impact from 12 to 4 p.m. Rain date is February 28th. On February 21st, there will be a Red Cross blood drive at the Emerald Isle Community Center from 1 to 5 p.m. On February 24th, the next Planning Board meeting will take place in the town boardroom from 6 to 7 p.m. Grab a coffee and meet your local police officers in a relaxed setting. Join us for coffee with a cop in the town boardroom on February 27th from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. On March 1st, parking pass applications open online. Go to our website for more information. Be part of keeping Emerald Isle safe. Join Neighborhood Watch. The next Neighborhood Watch meeting is on March 4th in the town boardroom at 4 p.m. The next Board of Commissioners meeting is on March 11th in the town boardroom from 6 to 7:30 p.m.
All right, thank you very much, sir. All right, item 8B, we have a very special employee recognition, so I'll invite Chief Matthias to the podium. Help me out with that, please, sir.
Good evening. Just here real quick, Captain Stuart Gilgo. He's been a brother to me ever since. Wow, y'all got a picture of him too. Job well done. He's committed several hours, both on shift, but also during emergency incidents, arson investigations, anytime a call for service is needed for the citizens of Emerald Isle. He has elected not to be tonight. He would like me to express that Matt Zapp was his best town manager in his 20 years of service here for Emerald Isle. And I thank him for his brotherhood and everything he means to me.
Thank you, sir. Captain Gilgo, I'm very sorry that you weren't able to make it here tonight. I've had the pleasure of getting to know our first responders, their department heads, their whole teams, and the brotherhood and sisterhood that these men and women experience is something to envy, to say the least. So sorry to have missed you tonight, but Captain Gilgo, the town of Emerald Isle proudly presents this certificate of appreciation to Stuart G. Gilgo in sincere and grateful recognition of your faithful and dedicated service for the town of Emerald Isle Fire Department for 20 years. On behalf of the mayor, board of commissioners, staff, and citizens of the town of Emerald Isle, this service award is hereby bestowed upon you as a token of our appreciation and esteem. Presented this 11th day of February, 2025. Thank you, sir, wherever you are tonight. All right. We have another employee recognition tonight. Hey, there you are, Chief. I'm going to have to call you up to the podium. Thank you, sir. Proceed.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. Thank you for this opportunity to come before you tonight to share a recent promotion. The promotion of Officer Jordan Hatfield from police officer to police officer 1. Jordan recently completed the requirements set forth in our career advancement program, which is also known as the POCAP, to obtain the rank of police officer 1. These some of the requirements in this step are for the officer to complete 180 hours of training. Those are 124 hours of core classes, 28 hours of patrol and traffic related courses, and then 20 hours of the officer's elective choice. As you all know, law enforcement is very evolving, and it's important and it's incumbent upon us to stay trained. We can't just solely rely on what the state requires us to do, which is 24 hours of mandatory in-service training. It goes far beyond that. We're grateful for the administration before me and these officers that created this program that allow these officers to advance and move up through the ranks in the department. So if you would, please join me in congratulating Officer Jordan Hatfield on his promotion from police officer to police officer 1. At this time, I present to you police officer 1, Jordan Hatfield. Congratulations, Jordan.
All righty, item number 9 is the consent agenda. We've already moved forward with that. Item number 10 will be old business. The review. Yes. I'm sorry. Oh, I thought you told me that. Okay, all right. Item number 9 is the consent agenda. Is there a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Mr. Sanderson with the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. Sorry about that. Thank you for getting me back right there. Now, item number 10 will be old business. Review of the December 10th, 2024 regular meeting minutes. Give me one moment. All right, the January 14th Board of Commissioners meeting, Commissioner Brownlow made a motion to table the December 10th draft minutes until February meeting to allow for edits. We have from on February 2nd, Commissioner Brownlow submitted revisions to the following sections of the December 10th, 2024 draft minutes. 5 public comment by Ross Hardiman, 5 public comment by George Brownlow, 11 discussion of UDO updates, 20 comments from the clerk, attorney, and manager, and 21 from the board of comments from the Board of Commissioner and Mayor. All right, so I'll open it up to the board to discuss. There's several different motions that can happen after that, so I'm going to turn it over to the board to discuss the revised minutes submitted by Commissioner Brownlow.
Mayor, my only concern would be with the minutes and stuff, just with some of the legal things that are going on behind the scenes, some of the stuff we probably shouldn't adopt because it might be a conflict of interest on that part. And I don't want to jeopardize the whole board if we're making some adjustments to certain things that probably shouldn't be changed. If it's dealing with a personal matter on some of the, as a commissioner and as a part of it, just on some of it, not all of it, but that was just a concern that I just saw when I was reading about it, but we can talk about it a little bit more if you'd like.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, the reason why I pulled the minutes out and wanted to review them, I did find some, at the end of the meeting during the manager's discussion, it got turned into more of a quasi-judicial hearing. And according to the Institute of Government's Town Clerk's Manual, those type of proceedings are to be transcribed nearly verbatim. Actually, it does say verbatim, or word for word. And so the transcription that I submitted was only applicable to the pertinent parts of the meeting, and it is verbatim. That was discussed in a public meeting, open forum. So it's no longer private or personal, confidential. It was discussed at a public meeting. You won't find any word changed, altered, manipulated. Go back and read it and follow the transcript. Listen to the audio. It'll follow like a script. And because it was turned into a quasi-judicial hearing at the end of it, where we actually interrogated witnesses, produced evidence, and discussed the terms of my case without my lawyer being present, I felt that it could be used as testimony and evidence in a judicial hearing and upcoming on the 17th. Therefore, I felt it necessary to be verbatim, and also that's consistent, as I said earlier, with the the Institute of Government's School of Government Municipal Clerk's Manual. Thank you.
Right.
I mean, that's all I had, and then not to call anybody out, but that's just my thoughts on it. Is just to make sure that we're keeping the board stability.
Yeah, I didn't have any issues with the edits reading through them. Nothing jumped out at me as being right or wrong with the edits that Commissioner Brownlow provided, but I hadn't thought about it in the context that Mr. Taylor brought up. So I hate kicking the can down the road, but it might be that we're all better off waiting until at least next month's board meeting and see if these other outside issues are resolved. I don't want to have us editing minutes after the fact becoming an issue in a separate matter that doesn't involve the rest of us.
I agree.
Commissioner Sanderson, anything to add? Excuse me.
I'd like to make a motion, please, Mayor.
All right.
I make a motion that the December 10th, 2024 meeting minutes be adopted as submitted by our town clerk. This was not advertised as quasi judicial meeting. Therefore, there's no verbatim requirements for those minutes. And I move that we accept the draft as submitted in January.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Commissioner Sanderson has the motion on the floor. All in favor?
Aye.
Can I have?
Oh, but there is room for discussion. Yes, sir.
I didn't want to have to do this, but I'm gonna point out the discrepancies that some of them are pretty significant. So bear with me as I go through this, please, because to me, this is very important. And if I may, I'd like to call on the town attorney also to verify that if something is going to be used possibly in the Board of Adjustment hearing, that the minutes are very critical. Is that correct, sir?
If I may, not to cut you short of your answer or anything like that, in addition to Commissioner Brownlow's question to you, are we not again entering into a potential quasi judicial hearing over and over again?
My greatest concern would, as Mr. Kellis just said, is attorney-client privilege. So if we were to have those minutes be entered, we would at least like some time to have them to parse out anything that may be privileged. Although we will say that the entire meeting is publicly available. So anything stated is publicly available, and anything related to the Board of Adjustment would be taken from there, not the minutes.
Thank you.
So I can't say that the minutes are more important than the literal transcription on video.
And in the name of fairness, I wanted to ask that question because it feels like we're, excuse me, going down the same rabbit hole, if you will, as we did couple meetings ago. So, all right. Back to Commissioner Sanderson's motion to adopt the December 10th, 2024 draft minutes as originally drafted. That motion is on the floor. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that motion is carried 3-1 without my vote. Thank you. All right, number 11 on the agenda is old business regarding appointments. We will start with 11A. Be our Bike and Pedestrian Committee, 2 vacancies. There are currently 2 vacancies on the Bike and Ped Committee. 7 applications were received between the initial posting on November 2024 and extended application deadline of February 5th, 2025. The applications, cover letters, and resumes were emailed to the board on February 6th, 2025. Again, we had 7 applicants. I'll leave it up to discussion to the board. There's 2 spots, 7 applicants. You have a couple of options here before you start discussing. As it goes with appointments, if there is a 2-2 vote, I am not allowed to vote on appointments, even if there is a tie. If it comes to that situation, you'll continue to vote until you have, in this instance, a 3-1 vote. So you'll discuss, you'll make your nominations. I'll do a roll call vote from one end of the desk to the other. And if we have a 3-1, they'll be appointed. If we have a 2-2, keep talking about it. The other option is to dissolve the Bike and Pedestrian Committee if you see that it has outlived its intended purpose. So I'll be quiet now and the board can discuss.
Well, Mr. Mayor, a couple of things. I read the applications. I really appreciate everybody that took the time to apply and your interest in serving this town. It's really important. I spent, I think, 3 years on the golf cart committee and actually learned a lot about this town that way. So I think that service is important, and it's beneficial to the folks that are willing to spend their time serving the town. In looking at both of these committees, as well as the dog park committee, which is kind of sitting in limbo, I wonder if we don't have an opportunity here with as many openings as we do to revisit the scope and direction of these committees. And do we still need 3 different ones? Does it make sense to combine it into 1 or 2? I think we have an opportunity to realign the focus of these committees now that there's going to be such a significant influx of new folks that we might be able to get some even more lift out of these committees that are very important and provide very useful services. So with that, I think it might make sense to get ourselves together and revisit those mission statements for these committees and maybe ask the golf cart committee on the 18th and bike and ped on the 19th to make some recommendations out of those meetings. What do they think works well? What doesn't work well? What recommendations would you have to change the scope or configuration of your committees? And then we can look at that holistically as one big group and then make sure that we're aligning the great work that people are volunteering to do for this town with the way we'll get the most bang for their buck. So I would recommend that. Yes, ma'am.
I just have a question, and I don't disagree with you at all, Commissioner Wooten. With the number of vacancies that we have, I don't think we have enough to provide a quorum in some of these instances. So it may be just a matter of an informal polling of the remaining seated members from each of those committees to get their individual input.
Yep. Okay, that's a good point.
Yeah, because I believe like the golf cart committee, I interviewed several of the people that were stepping down or leaving and had no more interest in doing it anymore. And like that committee itself seems like it might have ran its course. There's only so many spots we can make golf carts, parking spaces and stuff. And they say we're running out of places that actually fit, that there's room to do that anymore. And you served on that committee and we're trying to find more places to do it. And a lot of times they would just cancel the meeting because there was nothing to talk about. So I don't see putting somebody on a committee that's not a job to move forward with and wasting your time doing it. But by focusing like you're talking about and trying to get a more of a broader aspect of what that committee does, it might be bike and pedestrian and golf cart committee, all a combo deal or something. I'm not sure, but I think there might be a better path. And it'll give us more time for you as volunteers to decide if that's something you want to get involved with and come in a little bit stronger. Because I do hear a lot of people talk about they want to be on these committees and be part of it. So let's make a committee that's worth serving on and that's going to that can make some change. Because right now it doesn't look like the golf cart committee can do anything. And that's why a couple of people decided to resign from it because they wouldn't do anything anymore. That's my thoughts.
I would only add to that the solicitation for input if anybody has any ideas about what the scope of this committee should or would be, what makes sense, what you've seen work well elsewhere. Any input is greatly appreciated. Like I said, I really value the input that we get from these committees, but I want to make sure we're using the most efficiently using the time of the folks that are willing to serve.
Thanks, sir. All right, anyone else for discussion on the?
Yeah, I do.
Sir, with all due respect for the board, if you have questions or comments or suggestions, if you have questions, comments or suggestions for the board, I'd ask that you call them either directly or you could email at elected officials on the website. And not to be rude, not to be disrespectful, but this particular part of the discussion is for the board, sir. Sorry. Thank you, though. They want to hear you. I want to hear you, but do it the right way. All right.
Jay, I have one question
Yes,
for you, just for clarity for all of us. We're referring to the Golf Cart Advisory Committee and the Bike and Pedestrian Committee only at this time.
Yes,
Is that correct?
Correct, not C or whatever.
But correct, because that has a different.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
and if it's possible, let's address bike and ped first, and then we will go to golf cart advisory. I know there was some suggestion about a possible merger, if you will, but right now I'd like for us to address specifically the two vacancies on the bike and ped committee. If you don't appoint tonight, so be it, but let's keep them separate for now.
I make a motion that for the Bike and Pedestrian Committee, we ask staff to conduct interviews with existing members and provide feedback from those members to the Board of Commissioners in reference to what they feel their mission is, if the mission has been accomplished, what the goals are, and what they feel the goals should be, with the understanding that we all keep in mind that the proceeds from half of the marathon profits are dedicated to the bike and pedestrian, and that those be earmarked financially through finance for that specific purpose. We forego appointing anyone tonight.
And with the results of that survey to be returned to the board for review by when?
Or review by April,
April what?
our April board meeting.
April board meeting. All right. Motion's on the floor by Commissioner Sanderson. All in favor? All right, the motion's carried. Thank you. To 11B, Golf Cart Advisory Committee, 3 vacancies. We have received 2 applications. Deadline for applications was February 21. Appointment date is March 11th at the board meeting, March 11th, 2025. So we've got 3 spots open, 2 applicants. And again, just so I can say I said it out loud, you also have the option to dissolve the committee if you see it's outlived its intended purpose.
I would like to make the same motion that Alicia just made, but with the golf cart committee. And with them, I believe there's about $25,000
Correct.
a year that comes from the golf cart permit fees that still should go towards something that benefits golf carts and people that are golf cart users and parkers. But I'm not sure what that would be, but that's the reason for soliciting that feedback from the current committee members. And then hopefully we can have that by the April board meeting as well. And at that time, make a decision on what the new configuration of, if we were to join those 2 together or whatever we end up doing, we'll have that mapped out by then.
All right, so
May I bring up one additional thing? I agree with you, but I think that we should also take into consideration that we're about to run out of real estate as far as golf cart
That's
parking.
true.
All of these golf cart parking spaces are at public beach accesses. And I would like the golf cart committee, the remaining members, to share their thoughts on the potential for some type of dedicated funding annually for beach access.
I love that.
I do too.
So same motion on the floor by Commissioner Wooten, carbon copied, if you will, from the from the motion of Commissioner Sanderson on bike and ped. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion's carried. Thank you. All right, item 11C. EI Parks and Rec Association, Inc., 1 vacancy.
Since this is a different entity altogether, they function pretty much on their own. They barely meet. This is restricted to 1 parcel of property that's currently leased to the town, subsequently leased to North Carolina Wildlife Association for the boat ramp. I suggest that we reappoint Jim Normile to the Emerald Isle Parks and Recreation Association, Inc. committee.
All right. Has everyone had a chance to read this memo ahead of the meeting?
I have. Yes.
Anyone not had a chance to review it? It was dated, what was dated?
February 11th.
Yeah. So I'll open it up for discussion. Commissioner Sanderson is suggesting reappointing Jim Normile to serve on the Emerald Isle Parks and Rec Association. If you need any background on it, what it is, when it was open, all that kind of stuff, I'm happy to provide it for you. I'll back it back up to discussion from the board.
Hey,
Yes,
Jason, it might be, like a brief little spell. Can you do that? Or you?
Yeah, sure. I'll read the whole thing.
Yeah, this is pretty good to hear what this does, because it's kind of interesting, what it's used for, and it's how it protects the land, and it's mainly, anyway, it'll explain itself when he does it. I think you should hear it.
This comes from Laura Rochford, our finance director. The Board of Commissioners are asked to consider an appointment to 1 vacant seat on the Emerald Isle Parks and Rec Association, Inc. at the upcoming Board of Commissioners meeting tonight. The EIPRA was created by the Board of Commissioners in 2004 to hold title to and oversee the eventual development of a 7-acre vacant tract of land between Chapel by the Sea and the Bogue Sound. The vacant tract was donated by the town to the town by the heirs of Bill McLean. Paxton Holtz was the lead, and included in an old abandoned residential landfill that was last utilized in the late 60s, early 70s. To protect the town from any future liability, the EIPRA, a separate nonprofit corporation, was created. The vacant tract was initially envisioned, excuse me, as a soundfront park and eventually became part of the overall 27-acre Emerald Isle public boating access area. The EIPRA still holds the title to the 7-acre tract. However, it has been leased to the town and subsequently leased to the NC Wildlife Resources Commission for the development and operation of the boating access area. The EIPRA meets very infrequently, and from a practical standpoint, their only role is to continue to hold the title to the originally donated land. The term of Emerald Isle Parks and Recreation Association member Jim Normile was set to expire August 24. Mr. Normile has expressed interest in renewing his appointment for an additional term of 3 years, which would conclude on August 2027. Town staff recommends reappointing Jim Normile to serve on the Parks and Rec Association, Inc. Reappointed members, including their terms, currently are Jim, Deb Mueller till August 26th, and Pastor Clay Olson until August 2025. So there's the reading material on it, the background on it. So back to the board.
Thanks, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
I have no further questions.
No, I'm good.
I second your motion to appoint him.
You made an official motion?
I did make a
Okay,
motion.
all right. Commissioner Sanderson with the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, any opposed?
Aye.
All right, votes carried 3-1. Thank you. All right, item 12, planning call for public hearings. A, B, and C. Mr. Seaberg, are you around here? There he is.
Thank you, Mayor. There are actually 2 public hearings that I need to request be set for the March 11th meeting. The first item is the review of some of the changes in short session 2024 year. We talked about this, I believe, at the January meeting. Legal staff has done their review. We did present the mandated changes to the planning board for their consideration during their January 27th meeting, with the exception of there's some specifics on the stormwater change that we are going to present to the stormwater committee for their review prior to the planning board. But the planning board at the January 27th meeting did unanimously recommend approval of those changes as submitted. The other public hearing is an item recommended by this board to be presented at your December 10th meeting. This is regarding stormwater requirements for developments with more than residential developments, more than 10,000 square feet of land disturbance, and a requirement of a maintenance agreement that had to be recorded along with engineer reports on an annual basis. So that was also presented to the planning board during their January 27th meeting, and they did unanimously recommend the code change as presented. So that's what I have on those 2. I'm open if there are any questions.
All right, thank you, sir. Before I turn it over to the board for discussion, the 2 potential ways that the board could go on this is to set a public hearing so that we can hear from the public, obviously, before the board makes any decisions, or to automatically make a motion to not change the code. So you're telling the board that planning has recommended adopting the changes, but a public hearing is in order, in your opinion. Is that correct?
That is correct. You could, this board cannot take action without a public hearing.
Correct. Yes, sir. Thank you. All right. Up to the board for discussion.
Make a motion that we advertise for a public hearing on March 11th for the potential UDO code changes as noted in our agenda under items 12A and 12B.
And this is in reference to item 12. Well, let's do one at a time.
Okay. For item 12A.
All right. So item 12A, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Motion's carried. Thank you, ma'am. Say it again so we can be official.
I make a motion that we schedule a public hearing for March the 11th in reference to potential UDO changes for agenda item 12B, and that is agenda item February 11th, 2025.
Thank you, ma'am. Motion's on the floor once again. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion's carried. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. All right, item number 13, NCBIWA, which is NCBIWA, resolution of support for updating the 2016 Beach and Inlet Management Plan, affectionately known as BIMP. NCBIWA is asking their members to pass a resolution of support for updating the BIMP, as well as adding this objective to our members' legislative agenda. Without correct updated data, it will be impossible to accurately project direct expenditures generated by the beaches and inlets, as well as the number of jobs created in the total state tax revenue from all of these sectors. In addition, it will be impossible to determine the recreational consumer surplus resulting from beaches and inlets, nor will it be possible to accurately determine the scope and costs associated with beach nourishment and dredging projects in the state. We ask that you review the attached copy of the NCBIWA's resolution and pass a resolution of support from your county, town, or organization. That message is from Kathleen Riley, the Executive Director of NCBIWA. Turn it back over to the board for discussion and/or action.
I'll make a motion, Mayor, unless you have something to say.
Ready when you are, sir.
Motion to approve the NCBIWA resolution of support for updating the 2016 Beach and Inlet Management Plan, BIMP.
All right, Commissioner Taylor on the floor with the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you. All right, item 14, comments from the town clerk. She's absent tonight. Any comments from our attorney? Slow it down for like a second and then let it go. There you go.
Nothing other than thank you all for coming out tonight. And as always, despite there being two people at this table, we will only be billing for one. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Excuse me. All right, comments from the Board of Commissioners. Start with you, Commissioner Taylor.
I want to say thank you all for coming out and showing interest in our town. And we're trying really hard to meet your needs and what you want us to do up here. And it's sometimes it's challenging, but I'm trying my best for you. So thank you for coming out and being part of our town.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Wooten.
Yeah, I'd like, first of all, thank everybody for coming out and everybody that's reached out over the past couple of days or weeks. I always do appreciate the input. I don't always agree with it, but I don't learn anything if I don't hear from people that disagree with me. So particularly if you disagree with me, give me a call and let's talk about it. But I really appreciate everybody's participation. So thank you.
Thanks, sir. Mr. Brownlow.
No comments, thank you.
Thanks, sir. Mr. Sanderson.
Yes, I'd like to reiterate what Commissioner Taylor and Commissioner Wooten said. Thank you for everyone, regardless of perceived or any public perceptions. We do care, we do listen, and we want to hear from you. Thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am. I'll keep it brief. First and foremost, again, Captain Gilgo, if you're out there, if you're listening, if you hear about it, I'm sorry you couldn't be here tonight. I'm proud of you, proud to know you, proud of everything you do for our town. Happy 20 years to you, sir. I don't know how much you all look, pay attention, listen, all that kind of stuff when you're out and about, but our town staff is a family. Top to bottom, it's a family. Our staff could not do what they do if they didn't care about each other like family and if they didn't have strong leadership. That stuff doesn't happen overnight. It's a culture that is fostered and nurtured and cared for. If we don't protect it, it will go away. You might not notice it on the face value, but you will know. And all 7,000 of our residents and taxpayers will feel the effects. We've got a really special team here. It needs to be cared for. And to everybody that comes to work for the town of Emerald Isle. It's, can't imagine calling any other place home, and it's fantastic. So thank you all for what you do. That being said, it is time for us to go into closed session. When we come out of closed session, I will immediately ask for a motion to adjourn. There won't be any voting one way or the other after that. So in short, you're not going to miss anything when we're done. So I'll need a motion to go into closed session.
Yes.
Make a motion to go into closed session.
Pursuant to?
Pursuant to, I apologize.
You
North
read
Carolina
the
Code.
statute norm, the statute number. You don't have to read the whole paragraph.
I make a motion to go into closed session pursuant to 318-11 A6.
Thank you, ma'am. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, the motion's carried. This time I'll ask everybody except for